Hi friends, this is Dima, your English tutor. In this short video, let me please elaborate on such a very interesting phenomenon as, let's call it the correlation between methods for enlarging your passive vocabulary for different tests of English, such as Duolingo, IELTS, TOEFL, let's add there SAT also, and others, FCE, CAE, doesn't matter. So what I mean is, as experience shows, when you have, let's say, 3 weeks before the test, any test, let's take IELTS. Let's imagine that you have learned that in 1 month you have to sit IELTS. And I don't know how it happened, but it has happened that you just 1 year ago you didn't proceed to this test, preparation, and I don't know why, but you procrastinated, and now you realize that you have 4 weeks, and you have opened with your tutor or on your own, you have opened one of the texts for reading, and you see that like it's the end. That you have, let's say, something like intermediate English or pre-intermediate, and you see that in every paragraph here you have 20 new words. So you cannot answer the questions because just you feel out of context. Absolutely, you cannot guess. Especially, for instance, this text, by the way, is something from geology and geography, something about glaciers, valleys, elevations, intersections, and so on. So you feel that okay, that's it. Okay. So how can we enlarge our passive vocabulary? So there are two main methods, I think. And I have over 20 years of tutoring experience, so I have tried various methods, but not all of them are so efficient. Yeah? So the first one, let's call it the classic one. It's reading those texts borrowed from IELTS practice materials. For instance, you just go to Google and input IELTS practice tests or something like that, or Cambridge IELTS, and you can download a lot of those materials. And all these texts, they have already been passed by some guy. So they are real texts from real tests, just past tests. For example, 3 years ago, this test was seen by someone. And you're welcome to read it with your dictionary and look up those words and pronounce them, think about them, then reading this paragraph again, and in this way you enlarge your vocabulary. So this is probably the best method, but it has only one flaw. If we have 3 weeks, for instance, before the test, no matter how much you read, you will enlarge your vocabulary by even maybe a couple of 100 words, but anyway it will be not enough, because while you're reading, you mostly encounter those unnecessary words. You see, is, the, Swiss, Alps, yeah, famous, most, you know them, but you spend time on them. On the other hand, you learn those important words in the context, which is fabulous. Your brain grasps those associations. It craves for associations. Your brain learns only by method of associations. At least it should. If you don't give him, or if you don't give it the associations, it suffers greatly. And so this is the best method, but it has one flaw. As I have already told, if you have 3 weeks, for instance, you will not enlarge by a couple of thousand words, because it's impossible to read all day. You need to sleep, to eat, to recharge your batteries, yes, to change your activities. Otherwise you will go bananas and nobody will benefit from this bananasing, yeah? So there is one more way. Earlier I wasn't such an adherent of this way because it's so mechanistic, it's boring, but it also works. Let's call it mechanistic enlargement or enlarging of your passive vocabulary by virtue of studying or learning vocabulary lists. What I mean here, under the concept of list, we understand any set of words taken isolatedly on their own, and so arranged in some lists, or as in case with Duolingo, in some sets of 18 or 16 words. So, for example, let's imagine that you want an IELTS, yes, but you realize that you cannot read all day, yeah? So you want some other method, and so, but you have access to some nice resource for Duolingo preparation. So what you can do, you can open this thing, for example, yeah, Duolingo vocabulary, and do one by one those tasks Of course, simultaneously looking periodically into the dictionary and enlarging the vocabulary here. You see, just purely and mechanically cramming these words from lists also sometimes has certain advantages, and the main advantage is the number of words. With this boring method of learning word lists, you can enlarge your, let's call it, ultra passive vocabulary, basically I think with a couple of hundred words in one day. The downside is that it will be so superficial that your brain sometimes, your mind, when you go to the real test, it can like recognize that you know this word you have learned, but it cannot recognize the meaning. Yeah, this is the flaw, the drawback. Yeah. On the other hand, as I say, a lot of words. So you know what? I want to tell you that you can use Duolingo materials, for instance, to prepare to get ready for IELTS. You see, or TOEFL. That's the message of this video. Don't be afraid that Duolingo is so different from IELTS that you shouldn't, for example, look into Duolingo materials because they are like different 100%. No, the core of the vocabulary, these 10,000 words, is the same for every test of English. IELTS, TOEFL, SAT, or Duolingo, 10,000 words. If you know them, you will get a decent score on your reading, listening. I promise you, it's apart from speaking and writing, because they are separate skills which require certain like specific treatment, but it's another story. Yeah? But regarding words, you're welcome to use any available method for preparation to any test of English, and you will use it then to any other test of English, as has been seen by me and my students several times. For instance, there have been such situations. We have been practicing, and I have been tutoring a guy or a girl for Duolingo, let's say for 1 month. Then all of a sudden, the university or college informs him or her that there has been such a mix-up, a misunderstanding that instead of Duolingo, she has to sit IELTS in 1 week or in 5 days. So of course the student is desperate at the end of her mind, but I tell her, okay, calm down, everything is fine, keep your hair on. I promise you that we will now open IELTS, and you will see how your Duolingo preparation has greatly helped you in preparation for IELTS. And really, we open those texts and audios and everything, and the student recognizes and realizes that he or she is better with it 2 or 3 times. Why? Because the words are the same, you see. So again, the message of this video is this second basic approach of mechanical cramming of these words also works wonders very often. Though it's very boring, tedious, yeah, you feel like vomiting sometimes of it, but you stuff those new words into your subconsciousness. The ratio of like utility is very low, but it's high enough to help you at the real test, any test, IELTS or TOEFL. So you're welcome, please, to get those lists. They may be arranged in just PDF lists for such tests as IELTS, TOEFL, GMAT, and so on. Or, in case with Duolingo, like new lists, arrangements, and so on. And you're welcome to mechanically cram them here and something like that. And if you spend 1 month every day doing this thing for a couple of hours, I promise you that you will increase your score. I don't know by how many percent, but I think that, let me just not promise you something unreal, but maybe by 15% for sure. So, I mean that, for instance, if like we take the case without this method, with IELTS, yes, and you get like 5 for reading, yeah? So if you spend 1 month cramming those words, both reading text from IELTS and also using this mechanical method, you will get something like 6 for sure in 1 month. And I think it's worth it because it can change the overall picture, and it can really make that difference which is so needed by you in order to succeed. Okay, friends, I hope you have got my message. At least I have seen it several times. So try please to use both these basic methods. Reading with the dictionary, of course, those real texts from IELTS and TOEFLs, and also cramming the words just mechanically from various word lists. And just you will feel very well, I promise you. Okay, I wish you success at the test of English. If you need professional help, please address me. All my contact details are in the description to this video. I'm helping constantly guys from different countries to succeed at the test. I cost money as a tutor, but Don't worry about my accent and that I'm a non-native speaker. Believe me, I possess some psychological and pedagogical skills that can make wonders during our preparation. Okay, I love you and see you in our next videos.